Hi everyone, it's Tim here from PCGamer, and I'm with Chris Thursten, one of our staff writers, who's been out to see World of Warcraft Mists of Pandaria.
I have indeed.
It sounds like it's kind of a big deal.
It is. It looks like it's going to be a really comprehensive update to that game, especially for people who felt that Cataclysm didn't do enough in the end game.
So I guess the first thing, the kind of most important thing is it's a big brand new continent. It's not kind of a bunch of zones dotted around Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms. Can you talk us through a little bit about what you're doing between 85 and 90 and kind of some of the story behind it?
Sure. So Pandaria itself is, as you say, a new continent with 7 zones, and the Alliance and the Horde have both been shipwrecked at different points on the starting area, which is called the Jade Forest. And I played the first, I guess, couple of hours of the Alliance, and that's basically figuring out where they are, and it's a big mystery for everyone when you arrive. They don't know immediately that they're on this lost continent.
So you're saying you get aligned with kind of a different faction if you're on the Alliance. So what are those factions?
You do. The Alliance meet a race of like fishmen that look a bit like koi carp called the Jinyu, right. Who are kind of these kind of spiritual water people that they can see the future and things like that.
Carp are cool.
Carp are cool. And then the Horde meet a race of monkeys called the Hosen, who are pretty savage and kind of brutal. Remind me a bit of the trolls in some way, actually, and they start arming the Hosen against the Alliance, thus fighting a proxy war.
Right, okay, so
in the jungle.
So the Alliance and Horde are both fighting a proxy war between monkeys and carp men.
Yes.
In a eastern...
Indeed, it's a proxy land war in Asia. Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
So that makes great sense, and that's actually kind of like surprisingly deep for a.
It is. It's definitely they've definitely got a big plan for where that's going, and as this sort of conflict ramps up between the Alliance and the Horde, they showed us the areas in the game where when things progress post the launch of Pandaria, that conflict will ramp up, like the future site of a Horde fortress, for example.
Okay. So as you play and as the months pass. The landscape changes, and as they update it, there's more and more kind of infrastructure being built around it.
Like the story of Pandaria is very much the influence of the rest of Azeroth on this previously completely isolated kingdom. It has its own problems, but massive new.
Okay, that's quite cool because you want to be there at the start of that, don't you? You kind of want to. Yeah. Okay, so there's quite a few changes to the kind of level 90 game coming. There's 3 raids at the start, but we haven't really seen much about those.
What they were.
So, but the most interesting thing for me was the kind of reshaping of daily quests.
Yeah.
Because daily quests I just find incredibly boring, but they're changed now. So what have they done?
So basically, they are kind of mixing daily quests with a new scenario game type, which is a kind of sort of a rolling series of like mini objectives that take place in kind of little stories. So you're helping an NPC defend a camp, and then you're going and shoring up the walls, and then doing something else, and it's kind of done with phasing. And that's linked to the new faction system as well. So you'll do all of these things every day to earn faction, which then unlocks more things you can do every day. So for example, there's a faction called the Golden Lotus that are defending the Great Wall of Pandaria. See what they did there, against the Mantid, which we didn't actually see, but they're kind of the enemy from beyond the gates kind of thing. And when you start out, you won't have full access to all of those quests because you're not trusted enough. And as you build faction, you'll gain access to kind of fighting on the front line, and you'll also unlock extra wings to a dungeon that's attached to that. And the idea is, A, to make faction more visible and kind of useful rather than just being a bar that fills up, but also to kind of make dailies kind of grow over time, so it's not the same thing every day.
That sounds great, but I was more interested in the farming.
Then there's Animal Crossing.
Right, okay.
There's another faction called the Tillers who give you a farm, and you can run the farm, you clear it up, and over time the amount of farmland you get access to grows. You can plant your own crops. There's something like 14 different vegetables, and every day the farmers in the market change, so they'll want to buy different crops, want to sell different crops, and that's how you get faction. So players will also be buying crops from you to trade in for faction, and you can buff your vegetables.
This is like the greatest thing Blizzard have ever done. I'm so excited about farming.
It's remarkable how detailed that sort of little farming mini game is, and it is a mini game, but they've obviously put a lot of effort into.
It's not a mini game; it's a maxi game.
Yeah, it's a maxi game.
Okay, so more seriously, PvP. There's 2 new battlegrounds coming. So the first one sounds a bit like Payload from Team Fortress.
It does. That was the impression I got. They didn't make that comparison directly, but just looking at it, basically, it's set in a diamond mine under Stranglethorn Vale, the Goblin Diamond Mine, and it's actually the first fully indoor battleground. There's lots of like minecart tracks going everywhere, and the idea is to move minecarts to particular depots where you can kind of drop off a payload and earn points for your team. There's cool stuff that TF2 doesn't do, like you can capture signals on the track and change the direction of the enemy cart, so you can make them go the long way or something. And it seemed to be, from looking at the map, that it might be possible to like force them into some lava or something on the way.
That's cool.
Yeah, sounds fun.
And the second one is a Juggernaut game.
It seems like Juggernaut from Halo or something like that. Basically, it's a fight in a bigger sort of Pandarian arena over an artifact, and it's 10 on 10, and whichever player has the artifact is super powerful, but can't be healed. But that's the only player that can earn points for their team. So you get the artifact, and you earn points for your team, and your rest of your team defends you. Or you.
So you earn points by killing other people?
By killing the enemy team. But that means only one team can earn points at a time.
Right.
And the amount of points you earn is based on where you are on the map. So if you're fighting the big central arena where you're really exposed, you earn more points. If you go and hide off in the hills, you earn less points.
Okay.
Which is really kind of cool, different nested idea. The idea to kind of get one player through the focus.
Okay. So there's this thing called challenge modes, which sound kind of odd. I don't really understand them. What's that about?
Challenge modes are time trial versions of existing 5-man dungeons, or heroics. So you sign up for a challenge mode specifically on like the Dungeon Finder.
Yeah.
You go in and you're timed, and there are sort of thresholds for different medals, so bronze, silver, and gold. And the different medals you get kind of unlock rewards for you personally.
Right.
If you get a full set of silver, for example, you get a set of armor that's completely unique but has no stats, so it's for transmogrifying.
Okay.
If you get a full set of gold, you get a completely exclusive mount. But also your times are recorded, your party composition is recorded, and that's put into a leaderboard for your entire server. So you can be the fastest 5 people on your server, and also there's a leaderboard for your guild. So you can be the fastest 5 people in your guild to kind of beat.
So you want to join a very big guild then?
Presumably, yeah, if you want that.
Like
to
the PCGamer guild,
for example.
The PCGamer.
PCGamer.
So there was one other big kind of monster thing that came out of the presentation, aside from pets, which we'll come to, is Garrosh Hellscream is now King Baddie.
Or will become, yeah.
Or will.
So the patches to follow Pandaria, I mean, every WoW expansion has had a series of patches post-release that have kind of dragged it through to the end game, so the fight with Deathwing or the fight with the Lich King. The equivalent for Pandaria will be actually that escalating war between the Alliance and the Horde. So once Pandaria itself is kind of dealt with or whatever, then that war is going to really build up, and that will cause a massive division in the Horde between, I guess, Thrall's Horde and Garrosh Hellscream's Horde.
We're speculating on that.
We're speculating on that, but that's heavily implied. Yeah. And the final instance for that will be the Siege of Orgrimmar to take down Garrosh for both factions. But they don't quite... There weren't too many details on how that will work for the Horde, but for the Alliance, it will be the Siege of Orgrimmar.
Wow, that's super news.
Wow, indeed.
Right, pets. So pet battles we know are coming, and you had a chance to play with them?
See it,
okay. And they're a bit like Pokemon or
Final Fantasy. When they showed us it, they even put the Final Fantasy music over it as a placeholder. So they know what they're doing. Yes, they're 3-on-3 party battles. So you have 3 pets, and you kind of rotate them in and out, and you have you choose which move you're going to do. The interesting stuff is that pet battles, when it's match made, is completely anonymous, and the idea is that they're trying to do a sort of accessible for PvP for people who don't want that stress of kind of like being looked at or shouted at in a battleground. So you can obviously fight your mates, and it does snap into a kind of 3-on-3 battle that's in the world you're in, a new interface, but you're still kind of standing in the world, sort of throwing pets at each other. But if you want to, you can do a match-made game, which is completely anonymous, and it's just against some other random person from your server.
Okay. And what's in it for you if you do all these battles?
There is no connection to your actual character. Okay. They're completely separated character progression from pet battling. You get achievements in a new kind of pet battling category, and that does give you a kind of pet battling rank, but the idea is that it's completely separate. The main thing you'll be able to get is new exclusive pets. Okay. But that's it, really. Right.
And finally, there's a mount you can grow.
Yes. There is a... Pandaria has a kind of dragon that isn't a dragon called a wind serpent. It's not a dragon.
Did they tell you it's not a dragon?
It's not a dragon.
Does it look like a
dragon? It looks a bit like a dragon.
Okay.
It looks like more like sort of a Chinese dragon or something like that. And in I think the Jade Forest, the first zone, you'll be able to get an egg, and then grow the egg into a pet, which you'll be able to battle with, and then grow the pet into a actual mount that you'll be able to race.
They're doing races.
There's a race course for flying mounts.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So how far along did it look?
Well, they showed us which zones they'd finished, quested up in their own terms, where the quests had been done, and it was approximately, about 75% Pandaria was now quested up. There were the 2 higher level zones we weren't shown, so there was that, but it did look pretty far along. I mean, on for release this year, I would think.
Wow.
Yeah.
So beta fairly shortly then.
one would assume.
That's fantastic. So we're dead excited. Pandas, they're cool. We'll bring you more from Mists of Pandaria, obviously, in the next couple of days. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at PC_gamer. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.